Hi, everyone. I'm popping in here because this episode is a little different. I'm calling it the best of the first. This is a replay of our very first podcast episode. Self care is supposed to be selfish, but this time around, it's only the best parts. Since we started this journey, we have created 30 episodes, and we are so grateful to all of you listeners who support us. Keep sharing us with moms who need to hear the message that putting themselves first is not selfish. Thank you so much and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Self Care from the Inside Out for Moms. I'm your host, Carrie McFarland, a certified life coach and founder of Moms Love Coaching. I help moms put themselves first to stop burnout. If you're a mom who is exhausted from carrying the load of getting it all done, then you are officially invited to join the conversation every week. It's the perfect time to take a break, grab your coffee, and focus on the most important person in your life, you. So I'll tell you why I wanted to talk about this today, because I was listening to a podcast and the woman was, it was a coaching podcast, and the woman was talking about wanting to, she had 4 kids, I think 4 or 5 kids, and they were all young-ish. I think the oldest one was like 10 or 11. But she wanted to do something for herself, but she was having a hard time with the mom guilt. Like, she felt like it was taking away from the kids. If she's going to do something like that, it has to be like really important, or, something that does good in the world, or, she had all these like rules around what she could do to justify taking time away from her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so she brought up the word selfish. I feel like I'm being selfish. And the coach said, is it really selfish if you do that? And when she said that, it was like something clicked in my head, because now the person who's getting coached is trying to decide if what she's doing is selfish or not selfish, because selfish is considered bad. So if she decides that it's not selfish because of whatever her reasons are going to be, then it's okay for her to do it. In my mind, this is what was implied. But if she decided that it was not selfish because of whatever rules she decided, then that was okay. Right? So the choices are you being selfish or are you not being selfish? Which still says selfish is bad and selfless is good.
Right.
And the question in my mind that immediately happened is, so what if it's selfish? It is selfish. And so what? You can be selfish. Is selfish actually innately bad? I guess was the question that came to my mind. Because if you think about it, if nobody was selfish ever, we'd be dead. You have to do things for yourself only for your basic survival.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody questions that, right?
Right.
Is breathing selfish? That only benefits me. you know? But you don't think of it in terms like that. You only think of it in terms of, like, if you're doing something for other people, that's good. But if you do anything for yourself, that's bad.
So the thing about, so we looked up when we were talking about doing this podcast, I looked up what the definition of selfish is. So why does the word selfish mean that it is like have that negative connotation? Well, because it means that you're excessively concerned or exclusively with yourself, that you are seeking or concentrating on your own advantage, pleasure, or well-being without regard to others. And
Yes.
it doesn't say that in here, but I think the way I was raised with that term, it's almost like it's at another's expense. So, I mean, that which even makes it even more negative. Like, you doing something for yourself, you taking the time, you making a purchase, you, I mean, usually that's how it showed up in my life as a mom, is taking the time for me, like using resources that benefit only me.
Mhm.
Is because somehow when I'm using resources that are family resources, I'm taking away from something that the family would have. My time or our money, our, my energy, like somehow I should only be reserving that for the whole family when I think about it in the mom context.
Right. And that that puts so much pressure on us,
Yeah,
right? Because you can only do those types of things if, right? There's always a condition to make it okay to do something for yourself.
mhm,
And you had sent that definition to me, and what I had thought of, I thought of a couple things. It's almost like, yeah, without regard to others is the whole point. That's the whole point,
right,
because you're doing something for yourself. So of course you're not regarding others. And then the other piece of that is, why is it that we feel like not regarding others is such a bad thing?
right,
Because it automatically makes people think that you're going to be a terrible person, right? If you don't have regard for others, then you're going to do all these bad things to other people. And that's not what it's about. It's just about taking care of yourself. So why
right,
is it that when women talk about taking care of themselves, it's called, a lot of people label it selfish, which then implies that that just means that you're just going to go through the world, you're going to be entitled, right? You're going to be a bitch, you're not going to care about other people, you're going to be
narcissistic.
self-absorbed, yeah,
Yeah,
narcissistic, all those
yeah,
different things, when really you're being selfish. First of all, I don't even like that word. There's few words on the planet that I want to get rid of, and that's one of them,
yeah,
selfish, because it has so many negative connotations to it,
right,
and it keeps people from doing the things for themselves that enhance their mental and physical well-being,
right.
because they have all this stigma attached to this word. It's selfish. It's
Mhm.
selfish, You want to know who the most selfish group of humans on the planet is?
According to Carrie.
According to me,
Yeah, who?
babies.
Oh my gosh.
Babies are the most selfish creatures on the planet. Do
How
we think
selfish of them. They don't
do
regard anybody else's feelings. They just want their
they
own needs
don't?
met.
They need their diaper changed, they need to be fed, they need to be held, they need to go to sleep. Are they caring about what other people need? No.
No.
And do we have any negative connotation about a baby? No.
Right. That's really an interesting way to look at it. It's like we want to ban the use of selfish as a negative
Yes. Yeah, I
term.
want to just flip it on its head, because selfish is, if you think about it, it's actually, well, not only is it necessary, right? If you think about it in
Mhm.
your basic needs, but even
Correct.
beyond that, because
Mhm.
people think of basic needs as things that keep you breathing and your heart beating, right? Which
Right.
is
Yeah.
basically food, water, air, right?
See,
Sleep. But it goes so far beyond that, because that's just existing,
right.
right? And we don't want to just exist. We want to, challenge ourselves and thrive and grow and do all these things. And I argue that anything that's considered extra, right? Like a hobby, or going on vacation, or doing anything for yourself, no matter what that is. Everybody's different. Some, it's walking for some, it's going to the gym for others, it's going to the spa for others. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever you do for yourself to make yourself feel good, that has nothing to do with anybody else, in my mind, is still a need. And even if it's not a need, well, I would also argue that our wants are also our need,
Mhm.
right? Because that's the other thing is, selfish is about things that you want, right? It's okay to have the things that you need,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the things that you want that is up for debate. That's what people have all the judgment around.
Right.
And like, well,
Especially as
you don't,
for moms,
I
especially.
mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, what's the first thing that comes out of people's mouths? Like if you say, you know, I want to do this thing, like I want to do this thing that is going to cost this much money. Well, you don't need that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that people say. You don't need that.
I mean, I spent my whole adult life trying to figure out how to get my education paid for. And then by my work, and I did a fairly good job. Most of it beyond my master's degree and beyond my bachelor's degree was paid for. But when it came time to pay for my life coach training, like it was a wicked mind twist. Like I'm taking something away that my girls could
Yes.
have. This is, something like I'm directing resources away from the family toward my own growth and fulfillment. And that is bad, even though I contribute to the family coffers.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
I mean, it's bad if you're doing it for yourself. But if you took that same amount of money in that same program that you took and your daughter wanted to do it and you paid for it, that would be okay. So it's still the same amount of money, still the same program. But if it's not for you and it's for somebody else, then that would be noble and selfless. And right?
Right. She sacrifices for her children.
Yes.
And I call BS.
And that is celebrated. Whereas doing something for yourself, which actually makes you a whole person, better able to take care of the people around you. But people don't see it that way.
No, they don't. I wish I had. It, like we could do a whole episode on the things I wish I had known when my kids were little. I wish I had known and understood myself better to know that I needed that. The reason I would be grumpy on weekends was because I needed just to be alone without anybody asking me for anything.
Right.
Like with no expectations. And I didn't just need an hour or two.
No.
I needed a lot of time. And it felt like, well, I was not aware that that's what I needed in order to feel more human. I call it being fit for human consumption. But it was, I didn't think that, I didn't see that when I did have that time, that it was contributing to me showing up in a way that I liked better, like who I was showing up as, which is good for everybody. When you're showing up in a way you're happy and proud. This is a term we're using in my work now, that when you're happy and proud, you can move mountains, you can make things happen. But in order for me to sustain that, I need to have this time where there are no expectations of me. I put enough expectations on myself, believe me, that I don't want anybody wanting something from me. That's the thing.
Well, so I jotted down a few things when I was thinking about us talking about this today. So selfish is bad and people push against it. Selfless is celebrated and revered, right? That's what people think of when they think of the word selfless. But some of the things that happen when you're selfless is you feel obligated, which leads to feeling resentment and burnout. You're stagnant because you're never doing anything for yourself. You're always doing something for other people. You're never taking your own needs into consideration. And then you start having some mental and physical health challenges because you're never taking any time for yourself, right? You're not walking enough because there's not enough time, or you're not journaling or whatever you do to, keep your mental health where you want it to be, right? And so even though all those things fall under being selfless, we still revere it, and we still we don't think of it that way. It's almost like that's your badge of honor. You know, you're being selfless and you're sacrificing, and, you know, yeah, you don't feel good about it, but you're still in other people's eyes doing the right thing when you're
Right.
doing that, right? But when
Right.
you're selfish, which is considered bad, right? You're
Mhm.
expanding yourself. You're being creative. You're keeping your mental and physical well-being in check. You're, you know, you're choosing what you want to do instead of doing the things that are expected of you, right?
Right.
You probably feel a lot more gratitude when you're being selfish. So think about how you would show up if you were selfless more than selfish, right? So the
Mhm.
one, selfless, is considered the good one, but you're feeling terrible, you're going to show up in a way that you don't want to show up. And
Even if you
selfish
think
is
you're
considered bad, but you're
right.
going to end up feeling much better about yourself and showing up in a way that allows you to give to people
Absolutely.
in a way that you couldn't if you were constantly selfless, because you're not, when you're selfless, you're not taking care of yourself, and if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't do anything else for other people,
That's right.
not in the way that you would want to. I mean, I suppose you can, but it's not gonna last, and
Mhm.
you're gonna feel terrible in the process.
Mhm. Right.
So that's how I think of it. And that's why I want to get rid of the word, because the word is so filled with stigma.
Right.
You know,
It's a
you're being
loaded
selfish.
term.
Yeah.
And it's flung at people
Yeah.
to put them down.
That's a good
It's
word. It
not,
is. It's flung at people.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
not it's saying you're like you're committing a cardinal sin um if you're being selfish. Um,
Yes.
so I am trying to think of another word, words that end in ish, like are usually not don't usually have a negative connotation. But I'm trying to think of some words that are ending with ish and like, well, if I say the one that's coming to mind is sickish, like if I feel kind of sickish, it's like I feel a little sick.
Hmm.
But okay, let's think about that. If I thought put it on selfish, I think I'm thinking about myself, a little about myself. Like it's
Hmm.
not bad. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
uh,
like it.
so it just I'm drawing a blank on some other words that end with ish that could work.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, I understand what you
make
mean.
that point.
It's sort of like you're just thinking about it in a different way. It's like, instead of, if somebody flings it, do you remember when you were little and kids would start making fun of you and be like, "You have a boyfriend," ooh," right?
Yes.
And you're like flip out because it wasn't even the words, it was the connotation behind it, and you don't even, like, it was all ambiguous, like, you don't even know
Right.
why that was bad, but you knew it was
Right.
bad, so you were like,
Yeah.
"No, I don't. No, I don't,"
Right.
right? So the same thing is with selfish. It's like you don't even really know why that's bad, but it's like, I am, no, I'm not. I'm not being selfish. I'm not being selfish. Instead of just saying, "You know what? Yeah, I am being selfish. And
Right.
here's why. I'm
Yeah.
being selfish because that's what takes care of me. And I don't believe that selfish is a bad thing. So you can think it's a bad thing if you want to, but I don't think that. So
Exactly.
move on."
I did Google other words that end in ish. Childish, foolish, sheepish, bookish, boyish, yellowish, selfish, feverish, brutish, squeamish.
Oh, you know what just jumped out at me is the color, yellowish, right?
Yellowish.
That's so neutral.
Yeah.
It's so neutral. If we could get selfish to the point where it's just like a color, it's just selfish. It's just reddish
Right.
or greenish. It's just
Pinkish.
selfish. Yeah.
so, so there we have it. We are starting our own campaign to change the connotation of selfish to be one more of you're focusing on yourself without regard to others, because you can't be regarding others when you're taking care of yourself if you're truly taking care of yourself, right?
Right. And you shouldn't be, actually.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about not everybody has responsibilities in the world. And I'm
Right. It's
not
different. It's
talking
not,
it's
it's a
I'm
different
not,
thing.
because that's the other thing. People will say, well, what am I supposed to do about this, this, and this? I mean, those are my responsibilities. I'm not talking about not taking care of your responsibilities. However, I will say that understand that when you're taking care of your responsibilities, it may be benefiting other people, which is fine, because I'm not talking about never benefiting other people, but
Right.
you're taking care of your responsibilities because you want to,
Right.
on some level. Even if, like, if you think about it, even if you don't like it. So say you
Right.
don't like your job, right? And you go to your job every day, but I don't like it, but I have to because it's my responsibility, right?
Right.
You don't have to go to your job. You choose to go to your job. You still may not like your job, but you're choosing to go there because of whatever reasons you have. You like the paycheck. You're not ready to find another job yet.
Right.
You might not like it right now, but you know that it's going to change in a little while. So you're willing to wait, right?
Mhm.
A whole bunch of things, because the truth is we don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything we don't want to do. We're choosing to do it, even if there's a part of it that we wish was different or we don't like. We're still choosing to do it because, I mean, a basic reason for a job is because you want the paycheck. But you
Right.
could get a paycheck anywhere.
Right.
So if you wanted to leave that job, you could. But
Right.
you don't want to because you don't want to put the effort in yet, or you like the
Right.
paycheck, or you like the people you work with. Like, there's all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
So
So I say the next time you think you're being selfish, to take a minute and say, who am I really not regarding? Because typically the person you're not regarding is yourself.
yeah, 100%.
So regard yourself
100%.
more.
Yeah.
We say be more selfish.
Be more selfish. Take
Be
a
more
page
selfish,
out of
mom.
that. Take a page out of the baby's book. Be
That's right.
more selfish.
Be more selfish. I'm gonna be a yeah. Well, I like it. I like it.
All
So
right. See you later.
see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This makes it easier for everyone to find us and helps us spread our message about self-care from the inside out. Have a wonderful week, and remember, making yourself the priority is the highest form of self-care.